All right. The song is by Rihanna. All along I had a fever, a cold sweat, hot-headed believer. I threw my hands in the air, I said, show me something. She said, if you dare, come a little closer. Round and around we go, and where we stop, nobody knows. I'm not really sure how to feel about it. Something in the way it moves makes me feel I can't live without it. It takes me all the way. Let's call it a fate. It's not just we take, but what we're given. 'Cause round and around we go, and where we stop, nobody knows. I'm not really sure how to feel about it. Something in the way it moves makes me feel I can't live without it. It takes me all the way. My little faith. The reason that we hold on is because we need this hole gone. Funny, I'm the broken one, and I'm the only one that needs saving. But when you finally see the light, you can see all of us are caving. Something in the way it moves makes me feel I can't live without it. It takes me all the way. I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay. My little faith. That was for Patty. Both of them.
All right, now we're here. Woohoo! I would like to introduce my dear friend, comrade, and trauma bonder. But I'll tell you how I met Patty. Patty and I were up at WSU in the Coliseum, and we were like two bugs that were under a magnifying glass. And I'm not kidding you. They had us situated where the big glass wall, and the sun came in. It was penetrating hot, and I mean, we were frying. And it was, I can't say the show was a great show, but I can say it was an absolutely awesome show in the economy of connections. Because her and I and her husband were there, and he put something up there, and I'm like, and he says, oh, you can't do that. I said, watch me. And so I got on this ladder. I was dancing around this ladder. I hung these drapes, for her and for me. And it ended up beautiful after we got it done. And we were able to sit with a little bit of respite and with that sun. But it still was hot, and it was still quite frying. But we had lots of time to talk. We had I think it was 11 hours that first day, 11 hours. And so for 11 hours, and there was no people, and it was just me and Patty and Tom, and boy, did we have some amazing conversations. And here Patty is to tell you about her amazing work, and also about a fracture of reality that is out of touch with a lot of people, but it's closer than you actually realize. And we come to hear about the Fae and the fairies, and none better than our dear Patty Rae to do so.
Okay, I've never spoken in a microphone like this before, so.
Oh, let me move closer. You don't even have to worry about it.
So please,
Here. Just don't even act like it's there. There you go. There. How's that?
actually, can I stand?
You can stand. Yes.
I would rather stand. So, forgive me, I don't do this very often, so.
Think of it like a show.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Not really, kind of, sort of? Okay. Bill, I know we both have a hearing division.
I forgot my hearing aid.
So we're kind of in the same boat. Okay. All right, so am I good? Am I ready to go? Gosh. Thank you, first of all, Carmen, Kat, Carrie, for including me in this amazing circle of spiritual uplifting that I feel.
That's really perfect right there.
Okay, perfect, awesome. So as Carrie has already shared with you,
Here. You want me to post here?
they're reorganizing this entire area for
That's
me.
okay. Just readjusting. Good. There we go.
No, we have it.
There.
We're flexible, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Here we go.
Okay. Anyway, my name is Patty Rae, as you may have already heard. And my author's name is Patricia Rae, which is the name my mother gave me. And I decided that was probably the best way to identify who I am, because that's who I was born as. This is not going exactly how I started, but anyway, I want to share my story of how I came to write this amazing series about the Fae. And to get myself comfortable, I'm going to read from one of my mentors a little bit from The Tolkien Reader by J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay, this little book is a gift from the universe. Seriously. My husband and I were at the Lewiston airport years ago, and there was a little bookshelf up by the door with used books in it. And of course, being a book lover, I thought, I'll just go take a look while I'm waiting for my flight. And this little book was up there, and the sign above it said $2 or donation. And I'm scrambling through my purse so I can come up with $1.50. So I gave him $1.50 for it. But again, sometimes the universe brings us gifts when we least expect it. So Tolkien and I have a love for fairies. And when I read this part, it's like, it hit me right in the heart. So I want to share this with you. It is actually titled On Fairy Stories. I propose to speak about fairy stories, though I am aware that this is a rash adventure. Faerie is a perilous land, and in it are pitfalls for the unwary and dungeons for the overbold. The realm of fairy stories, wide and deep and high and filled with many things. All manner of beasts and birds are found there. Shoreless seas and stars uncounted, beauty that is an enchantment and an ever-present peril, both joy and sorrow as sharp as swords. In that realm, a man may, perhaps, count himself fortunate to have wandered, but its very richness and strangeness tie the tongue of a traveler who would report them. And while he is there, it is dangerous for him to ask too many questions, lest the gates should be shut and the keys be lost. And that is what fairyland is for me. It's this mysterious world of beings, not that unfamiliar from us, but live in a different set of rules. And there's a deer walking right there. That's so cool. Yeah.
We get that often here.
That's so cool. And with their own moral dilemmas, just like we deal with, but in a different plane of existence. I also want to share another piece, because fairies have been in my life forever. When I was a child, we would watch movies and stories, read stories about fairies, and my sisters would join in with me and watch these movies and listen to these stories, but they weren't moved by them like I was. It was just a fascinating little story for them. But to me, this was a peek into a world that really exists that for some reason I get, but my sisters didn't. So one of the books I managed to be gifted by the universe, again, it's called The Faerie Handbook, and it's written by the editors of Faerie magazine. Is anybody familiar with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. I actually, for my own ego, I had my books advertised in the Faerie magazine, but it soon turned out that it was for my own ego. So it was fun. Okay, again, this is what the editors of Faerie magazine have to say about fairies. Folklorists say that few people in history have believed in fairies themselves, but that they have always believed in a luminous, more romantic time in which others did. But I don't know. As the editor-in-chief of Faerie magazine, I have met plenty of people who believe fervently in fairies or are open to the possibility of their existence. Too many of us have felt that hypnotic hush in the forest, seen a flicker of wings beating in the periphery, followed glowing lights that lure us onto another path. Maybe it doesn't really matter where the metaphor ends and the literal begins. What I do know is that fairies, in all their shimmering, gossamer, moonlit gorgeousness, tap into our deep longing for the world to be more than what we see. And I think that's what draws us all to the love of fairy and the fairy realm, is it takes us out of our reality. It takes us out of what we know in our everyday lives. So this story, Mark of the Faerie, originally came to me back in 2000. And growing up, I had never intended to be an author. That was not my goal. I didn't sit around thinking, oh, I'm going to write all these great stories and I'm going to be a published author. I knew I had a creative side, but I didn't think it was going to be in writing novels. I like to write poetry, short essays, and sketch and draw. But when the universe brings you the characters and the storyline that will not leave you alone, even if you don't feel like you're worthy of it, you have to listen, you have to follow, you have to be that vessel. So against the grain of what I wanted to do, 20 years later, this story was published, but it took that long to get there because the right people had to show up. I had to go through the gamut of going to workshops and writers' conferences and sitting across the table, as you know, Bill, talking to editors and agents and publishers who are telling you how you should write it, what you should do, and by the way, we'll take half of your profit. So being a businesswoman who's already started a few businesses, after a few years of just learning everything I could, I realized I could do this myself. I could self-publish. But you can't do it alone. You have to have a team. You have to have editors. What did I know about writing? I was a storyteller, but could I write a good story? I needed help. I could put the words down, but they weren't very legible to somebody else. So when you make an announcement like that, when you feel it here in your heart that you are ready, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. And that's exactly what happened. I remember the day I was standing in my kitchen and made the announcement that I've learned as much as I can. I need help. Bring me the next step. Show me the path. Bring the opportunities, and I will follow. And as we all know, if you feel it here, and you believe it in your heart, and pay attention, the answers come. And the answer came, the solution came on my birthday on June 20th at a little festival called the First Annual Fairy Blossom Festival in Centralia, Washington.
Wow.
And I saw this little postcard about this big in a coffee shop announcing it. And it was clear on the other side of the room, and I followed it over and I saw this card announcing this Fairy Blossom Festival, and it happened to be on my birthday, and it's like, Tom, we're going. And I had already started writing majority of this, 3 books had been written, so I had a little synopsis that I took with me. Because you never know who you're gonna run into, who can open some doors, or who you can network with. John Thompson, a publisher of beautiful children's books. He owns a publishing firm called Illumination Arts, and again, he's beautiful children's books. Happened to be there in this teeny tiny little town, in this little fair with maybe 20 vendors. I met him, and we started having a conversation. He discovered I was a freelance bookkeeper, and he needed some office work done, and he says, why don't we trade some services? You come work for me, and I'll do some editing for you. And then at the same time, I'll look for a developmental editor for you, because that's our first step. That meeting opened up so many doors. That one meeting with that one man made this happen. He brought me Sarah, who was a 20-year-old intern working out of his office in Bellevue. She just happened to be a European history major. This whole story set in Scotland in the mid-1740s. So it was a perfect fit. Plus, she was a fantasy lover. This whole story is dusted with fairy glamour. And by the 4th book, we are in the realm of the fae. So these people were brought to me by the universe when I finally decided I was ready. But I had to be ready. Then when I decided to pursue the publishing part and realized I didn't want to share my profits with a publisher, I knew I had to find a book designer. How do you go from a rough first draft manuscript to a book? You need help. And so the editors obviously cleaned it up, took my really messed up manuscript and made it into something someone could really enjoy reading. But I needed a book designer. And literally, again, the universe provided. Struggling with trying to make a connection with a woman in Seattle, it just wasn't working. She kept having other obstacles. We couldn't make the connection. So I just sat down at my computer and went, book designer near me. And they're found in Moscow. And he just happens to be associated with my my son's in-laws up in Moscow. Mary Jane's Farm. She has a magazine. She runs a... Okay, well, my son married her daughter. So Eric Jacobson, the book designer, did a lot of work for Mary Jane. He just happened to be the one that popped up on my Google screen search, and we immediately connected. So I didn't have to go through multiple editors. I didn't have to go through multiple book designers. I didn't have to go through multiple anything, because the universe brought me everybody I needed when I needed them, the first time. Why? Because I believed it. I felt it. I knew it was coming. But I had to wait a long time before that happened. And the Fae have been with me every step of this way. They've brought the characters to life. Okay, how much time do I have?
Days.
We're entranced.
You're golden right now.
Okay.
I have to make what?
So there's Jackie's missing today.
Jackie said she might come, but something happened, so who knows? She's like a fae.
That's right. Comes and goes when it's needed. Okay, I learned recently from our wonderful friend Jackie about the gentleman named Brian Frode. Anybody familiar with him? He is apparently a member of the Faerie Congress. Do you know about that?
No, I just know his work with Jim Henson.
Yes, the Dark Crystal and the Labyrinth. Yes, yes. Anyway, when I first started really investigating and researching more about fairies, again, the universe brought me the books I needed at the time, and this one just happens to be called Good Fairies and Bad Fairies. Because my book has both. My story has both. I had to know about all of them. So as I'm going through these stories and these pictures, and they're just beautiful, beautiful drawings. Oops. By Brian, and as you can see, they're just gorgeous.
Wow.
Anyway, and he also writes about them because they actually come to life for him, so he can describe who they are. So many of these characters of these books of his descriptions actually transferred into the story. I was able to create those beings and describe them in these stories as they meet the mortals. But Queen Brigid the Bright, I don't know if you can see that. She's in the book. I mean, just like this, and her name is in the book. And I'm just going to read her description really quick. Queen Brigid the Bright comes to light out of the darkness, stepping from Terangri, I'm not sure I'm saying that right. It's called the Land of Promise, to whisper old magical tales in our ears. In her hand is the white wand of authority, once wielded by the old kings of Ireland and the old lords of Scottish tales. The white of the wand represents purity. Its straightness represents justice. Made of stripped birch or willow, it brings the light of spring to the dark of winter. To be touched by this fairy's wand is to be given the gift of firm resolve and true purpose on your spiritual journey. She stands in the space between now and no, K-N-O-W, initiating all who desire into the mysteries of the Fae. So she was a prominent character in the story as she helps the mortals when in their struggle and their fight against, the not so nice Fae. Because there is an evil Fae in this who wants complete control, utter dominance, total ability to wreak havoc over both worlds. And she needs a special child, half Fae, half mortal. And this is what the story is about. I didn't know exactly how the story was going to play out, but the characters told me. They literally came to life, and I know the Fae instigated that because they're kind of ornery that way. Because this is a Scottish historical romantic novel. There is a man in it who is a Jacobite Scottish rebel. I don't know if you're all familiar with the history of British and Scotland, but anyway. And he talks with a pretty good Scottish lilt. And one of the things that he says frequently one more coming is this story is about a mortal family who is trying to keep their gifted daughter, who is half Fae, half mortal, from being abducted by this evil Fae who wants to use her to bring a prophecy to pass. Then it's not good for anyone. So they're trying to protect their daughter, and they're fighting back against this Fae. So the moral to it is more than just the fascinating fantasy part. It's the struggle to hold on to your family values, to hold onto what's dear to you and fight against the immoral forces and fight against those who are dominating and trying to tear apart things that make us human. The love that we share with each other is the one thing that the immoral forces don't understand. So if we can hold on to that love that we have for each other, for our families, fiercely protecting them, it will keep the immoral forces from winning. And I think that's what this story is about. It's the struggle of this family fighting against something that seems to be absolutely impossible to fight against. But their love for each other gave them the strength to do so. So I guess the only other thing I want to share with you is that I did reach out to fairies multiple times. And I had an experience. I'm not going over yet, am I? Okay. Where I found, these are just some sketch drawings that I put in my book. It's the maps of where they live. If you want to look at it, I'll leave it up here. But anyway, it's called a ritual on how to meet a fairy. And I took this from How to Learning Wicca. So it is, the very first statement is, don't take this lightly. That caught my attention. And so it's a full page of how you go through the process of meeting a fairy and how you put yourself in the right frame of mind. So on March 31st, 2005, I did that. And at that time I was living on property with 2 creeks running through it. It was beautiful timbered land. And I took myself down to the pond and I got myself in the right spot. And I asked for advice on how to continue writing the story because I don't know how to go forward. This is before I found my publishers and my book designer. So this is what occurred. Today I briefly met a fae folk. His name was Ernest. I called upon the fae folk for inspiration and ideas for my book, for help in creating the inspiration and passion that I know is within me, but I'm having difficulty bringing it out. A strange little fellow appeared in my mind's eye, ever so briefly. I caught only a glimpse of him standing at my feet. I was sitting on a bench next to the pond, and he only came up to my knees. He asked why I was making this request. I told him that a seed had been planted years ago, and that I now need the help of the fairies to keep it growing. He said if I received the seed, I already had the magic. I told him that the world, life, and daily issues keep getting in the way and that I'm having difficulty staying focused. Before he left, all he said was, come back tomorrow, and then he was gone. I looked up the word earnest in the dictionary, and the definition in the noun form is something given by the way of token or pledge, a part paid or delivered beforehand, as a pledge and a security for the whole.